Hello, everyone. I'm Candid Frank Stanisci of Candid Frank Live's Open Forum. Welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Now on Open Forum, joining me is Rob Daniels of Z. Is it Z or Z 103.5? I guess it would be Z if it's going to rhyme.
Z 103.5. Though we're in Canada, and I mean, properly it should be Z, but I think we're going with the more cool, hip trend of making it Z and rhyme, like you said, Z 103.5 in Toronto.
Yeah, I made the two assumptions and said just for fun, we'll make fun of the fact that it's in Canada and we're saying the Z wrong, but that's okay. You know, it's the old saying, what is it? It doesn't matter how you spell my name unless you, just as long as you say my name, right?
Yes.
It doesn't matter, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, so here he is. He's Rob Daniels. Now, we've inferred also just said that he does a radio show. When do you do your radio show? When's it on?
So Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sundays, noon to 6. But and then we, sometimes called in to fill in for vacations during the week. Hence why I'm actually today. I literally just got off the air and was on the air 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Z103.5 today, filling in. So fill-ins when they need it, and yeah, it's a great gig.
I'm glad you enjoy it, and we're happy to have you here. We're really grateful that you're taking the time in a busy day. You're literally giving us all the time you have left between now and later.
Listen, thank you so much for having me and giving me the extra platform to try and help change the world with a recent project that I worked on. So thank you for giving me this time. I appreciate it.
You're more than welcome. And that project is a literal one. So yeah. Literally speaking, we're talking about, you wrote the book, and the book called Beyond the Mic. So what happens in your life? There it is. Thank you. I didn't get my copy. I'm still waiting for it.
Not a problem. It's I'll try and send you a copy. It's surreal to hold it. So it's right over there. And it's called Beyond the Mic, and lots of great material in there. I sometimes just I can't even believe myself that I've done it. I look at it sometimes and it's very surreal to me because I struggle with self-doubt. So it was one of those things where you put your head down and do the work, and if it comes out to be a book, it becomes a book. If not, it's some great therapeutic writing in the moment, and that's what it really felt like in 15 months of COVID while writing it.
I would also like to add that it's out in paperback as of about a month ago, just a little less than a month ago. It came out on paperback as well.
Yes, paperback and ebook are both available at Amazon.ca, and for any of our American viewers, Amazon.com. Pretty much the entire outlet of Amazon. I had a good friend yesterday order it from the UK side of Amazon, so that's pretty cool too.
Very good. Did it make a trip up to the stars? No, on the way back? No, never mind.
Maybe Mr. Branson will bring it to space, or is it Jeff Bezos? Because it's
Bezos.
Jeff Bezos both copy to space,
Absolutely. That maybe you can go up in space and sign a couple of books so that you can say you can have my book, and it was in space as well.
That would be cool. Yeah, we should
a little bit of a promotion deal. So for 20 years, you've been a radio personality.
Yeah,
you're an FM guy. You've spent your life introing and extroing and throwing in tidbits in between music. Tell me a little bit about the process of becoming a radio guy. You talked a little bit about being busy and filling in for folks. Mm-hmm. Media people, front men, front women, on air, everybody thinks you're an overnight success. So explain to us how long it took for you to be an overnight success.
Well, yeah, I mean, and thank you for the compliment. I wouldn't say overnight success. I'm usually like my biggest critic, but it really was about I think when I'm always trying to find new ways of mastering my craft and getting better each day and more creative, and never taking an on-air segment lightly, always trying to improve. So I would never say I'm an a success, but to get to the point where you feel comfortable that you have enough years under your belt that you know you could say, yeah, I've mastered my craft, and I'm still trying to do the best I can every day to take it to the next level. That probably came, I would say, within the last 5 years, but and that was between several stations, being in Hamilton, Kitchener, Waterloo, Toronto. But you have to really go write your story, um, and write your story, meaning, and I was given that advice that I write about in the book, also from a former Toronto radio personality who is now in Calgary, and and a mentor of mine, and he essentially was the one that told me, you got to go write your story, and that's what happened. You mentioned the word overnight. Overnights was I was probably one of the last live overnight FM radio show hosts in Toronto, and that's where I got my start. And that was the whole purpose of writing your story, because there was a whole bunch of people in front of me to move on to the next spot in terms of radio, and climb up the hierarchy when I first started in Toronto. So I knew I wasn't going to get past overnights in Toronto, and needed a new place to call home, because I appreciated where I was, but overnights and the lifestyle, I was having trouble with it personally, in the sense of just the sleeping part and staying focused, and being alive during the daytime was very difficult, and sleeping during the day was tough. So I thought, this has nothing to do with an ego thing. It's more like I need to go spread my wings and not be afraid to move to different parts of Canada, and try and do this, and get back on a normal schedule. So the next spot was going to Waterloo Region. This was back to 04 to 06, and I got to host an evening show full time out there, 7 p.m. to midnight in Waterloo Region for a couple of years. Filled in on the morning show there, filled in on afternoon drive, live to air gigs. I would fill in, host MC community events, and all that. I did a chunk of learning out there, and that's what I do in this book, in chapter 5, which is radio. And I reflect on these moments from market to market over a span of 20 years in radio. And so in a sense, where my mentor told me to go write your story, I did that in radio. And now I've sort of written my story literally too, like you said. So to answer your question, to get more focused on that, is more like when I came back from writing my story in Toronto, I wouldn't say I was solidified then. Like it was like 2009, and I still had some learning to do and knowing that Toronto is such a cutthroat market. In 2009, I really learned all about that, being at a radio station for a couple of years there. And so when I really came back is when the success happened. You wrote your story, spent a couple more years in Toronto, and you came home. And then the successful part, I would say, occurred from 2013 to about, in terms of becoming, like you had said, an overnight success, till 20, until now. I would say it's successful. I still have goals and dreams and such, but I'm very happy with how far I've come at this point. Yeah.
I have both an understanding and I have empathy for the fact that one, if they choose this career, back many, many years ago, I was offered a job in a small town out west, and I just got married. My wife got pregnant, and I basically made a decision. I'm both a construction guy and I was a TV guy as well.
Okay.
The construction guy meant that I could stay in, wasn't Toronto, was Mississauga. That's where we bought our home.
Yeah.
And that's where I could live and raise a family. So, there are sacrifices that you make. It was a bit of tongue in cheek when I said overnight success, to be clear. A lot of people who are in the entertainment business, we see them, right? But we only see when we see them. We don't see them when they do everything that they've ever done. So, sometimes it's just a micro of what and who they are that we see. A lot of changes happen in a person's life, in a human being's life. And as a human being, you said a couple of things, and the way you said it, the way you answered that question speaks to the issue that you consider important in your life that you felt not, to talk about: anxiety, depression. And, it's tough to be in the position that you're in, because self-deprecation is probably one of the most important tools, or at least accepting self-deprecation, being hard on yourself, is one of the things that you have to do in the business that you're in. You have to be very, more than realistic. You have to really be almost self-critical. We watch what we do all the time. I was in it a little bit, so I have a clear understanding from my perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, you hit the nail right on. What's the saying?
Nail on the head.
Nail, exactly it.
Spot on.
When it comes to mental health, yeah, and we are, and we're in the entertainment business and performing arts. We're probably our biggest critics, and I can't tell you how many times, of doing an interview, or rather hosting a break, and I want to make it the best possible, and then if I mess up, and then I'm like, oh crap, I hope my boss didn't hear that, because I'm so hard on myself. And the thing is that nobody is perfect, but when you get to Toronto, let's say, there is this sort of unwritten expectation of you that you've got to be as close to perfect as possible. That's what Toronto and the bigger cities, the big smokes, are all about. The LAs, the Chicagos, Miami, New York. You have to be at the top of your game all the time. So what I try to always instill in people is that you're never going to be perfect. There will always be mistakes, but how do we make less of them? So how do we, and that's what Toronto really is about. So you have to go out to those markets and cut your teeth, make those mistakes, the big ones, the things that you really learn along the way, and really come back and be the best that you can be. And I feel like I've really done that. Some days I'm more overwhelmed than others. I've been in and out of positions. Sometimes positions don't work. Sometimes they do. I'm more so referring to, like, if you go into a morning show role, and it's very difficult to throw two people together and say, hey, go do a show together. It either works brilliantly and you have magic, or it's, or you don't, or like you don't have it just doesn't work out. So
Chemistry. You need to have chemistry. If you don't have chemistry, it can be, it's almost, it's almost like, when you see people who talk about husbands and wives who finish sentences of their mate.
Mm-hmm.
You need a bit of that.
Yeah. And so that's essentially it. Sometimes great morning shows work out, and it's the best thing in the world. And that's why I really truly believe you should never split up never just can an incredible morning show, because it's so difficult to put one together. So realize the greatness that is there, because it's not easy to throw two people together and say, go do a show. And it's not easy to do that. So when you have that, be grateful for it, and try and strengthen it, nurture it to be even better. And sadly, I've seen those shows blow up, even the ones that are successful. And it's unfortunate, and because radio is in a spot now where the decisions are not necessarily from the program managers, but folks at the top who really just are looking at dollar signs at the end of the day. And
Numbers.
We're dispensable. We're all dispensable.
You're a number. They're looking for numbers. The number's got to be high enough.
Yeah.
Can we justify that number for that number?
Yeah. And exactly. So at the end of the day, you're just that. So you get the axe for just being a number that it could be a smidge too high, and they want to save that money instead of invest in seeing that talent grow and potentially gaining dollars down the line if you nurture that talent. But so it's really up to the talent in the end to keep their game face on and still keep coming back for more, the never quit attitude. And that's what I try and portray as a broadcaster. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had people come up to me and say, I'm so surprised, Rob, that you haven't even quit yet. You keep coming back for more. Why do you keep coming back for more when you keep? And And the answer to that is quite simple, is literally because you have to still keep doing, you have to love what you do every time, every day, I would say, in your job. I mean, I think that that is so important, is loving what you do for work, because we're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. And I've seen it before where we're not guaranteed 5 minutes from now. We could be on our deathbed. We don't know it. Heaven forbid, any kind of accident, this and that. You know, uh, the time just goes like this. And so if we're only guaranteed the now and what's happening now, may as well do something, the motions of the job that you enjoy. And that's what it is. I keep reminding myself, forget about the noise, what's going on in the background, and the changes and this and that, and who's competing against you. Only compete against yourself every single day. Compete against yourself. And if you're enjoying the motions of the job and still entertaining and talking to people on the air, making people's day, that's what I try and focus on.
Yeah, you basically have to focus. It's a strange kind of feeling for the listeners and viewers out there. You've got to focus and also not pay attention to at the same time.
Yeah.
And you have to figure out what not to pay attention to and what you need to focus on. And it always helps. Where do you get your, there's the inner motivation that you have. Your interests have to be broad based, right?
Yeah.
And you've had to broaden your horizons, not because you want to specifically talk about something, but because specifically something comes into your program that you need now to have an intelligence about. How have you sharpened that tool? Because that's something that you have to, it's ad-libbing. I'm not talking about ad-libbing per se, but what I am talking about is being able to pick up a topic and have already a basis of an understanding of it. So as a radio guy, when you talk about stuff, when stuff happens, you have to react to it. You don't always get, well, let's see, tomorrow morning we're going to talk about this. Sometimes you literally wake up, start the program, and something happens, and now you have to, how do you handle that? And act as if and be believed as far as feeling yourself confident that you're saying what needs to be said and you're saying it in a way that satisfies you.
Yeah, it's I go about that by trying to get better at my ad-libbing skills, which I think I have improved. I really try and shy away though from topics I'm not entirely knowledgeable on, or I'll save it. If something breaks down, I try and go with the things that I know at heart I could do. For example, it happened to me today. The computer monitor, just like we had, there's technical difficulties in a lot of workplaces. And so for us, the monitor sort of crapped out in a sense. And I had some information up there that I needed about a station event, which I still touched on later in the show when it started working again. But so what, I could talk about really anything. And when I had like 20 seconds to go, I'm like, okay, I really haven't actually talked about the book yet. I'm going to talk about it today. I'm just going to, ad lib about it because it's very exciting, because I've never done this before. And I thank the morning show. And I just did a lifestyle break about a lifestyle / station break by thanking the morning show for having me in the other morning to talk about the book, first time self-publisher. And not only that, but writing it for not only myself, but for others, and helping with self-help for others. And the fact that I'm going to be so thankful to be able to give it away on the radio station over the next couple of weekends, give a copy away each show, and as well as giving away a dinner, lunch for two, switching it up each day to a small business, which is incredible. I didn't get to quickly touch on that because the break, I try and keep them a minute and under, but I thanked them. Or rather I said, the website is where you can find the interview of where I was interviewed with the morning show type of thing. And I touched on giving away the book and this weekend and coming weeks coming up to a book club tour. So, and that's what I was confident in talking about that at that very moment, because I hadn't actually talked about it in the 6-hour show yet. And sometimes you get anxiety too, because I'm someone that doesn't like to really talking about myself is it's new to me now, especially now that I'm did this, and I really want to get the message out there. But it's for others. Like if I can positively impact others, that's what then it makes me feel good inside, that I know that people have taken from this, because there's so many life lessons, so many daily rituals and habits you can do to improve your life that I find have helped me. But it's not forceful. You can take the advice, you could try it, see if it works for you, and if it does, great. If it doesn't, do what works for you. And so when it comes to the ad-libbing portion, it really depends on how confident I am in any given topic. Like I really don't think like I would have to split think and just be like, no, if the computer monitor dropped out and there was something about COVID that needed to be on, it was an update and there's a lot of stuff that needed to be said, and I don't want to say the wrong thing, I just save it. Like I save it for 10 minutes. If I'm not,
Gotcha.
I'd rather go on and be confident and know exactly what I'm saying than pretend to know. And it's interesting because everybody's become an expert all of a sudden when it comes to COVID. And
Now we're hearing about it all the time, and we spend so much time hearing all the information.
And I try and stay, and we are actually the escape from COVID, the format I'm on with Z1035, we're the escape outlet. We really only give updates in terms of if there's something major going on, or if you need to know about what's open in stage 3, this and that. But headline after headline, we leave that to the news outlets and so forth. So yeah.
The only context you and I need to talk about the pandemic is how it affected your writing this book.
Yeah, essentially. And that's sure. It really did. It was 15 months of really therapeutic writing. Like I can't explain it enough in terms of how it felt. Like I'm looking at it here and I flip through the pages, I still can't believe it's real. It's a form of becoming comfortable with yourself and fully, and knowing that, and this is I've heard this from other interviewers before, that you sort of, for a male, it's it's not heard of often for them to just be entirely comfortable with their feelings, get really deep and sit there and be like, Rob, you're gonna let it all out now. You are going to write and you're gonna cry. It's okay to cry, and the tears are gonna fall out on the page, on the keyboard. You are going to cry and you're going to write, and it's going to feel therapeutic. And that's an important reason. But the most important reason is that if it can positively impact others from your experiences, and that is what this book is all about. It has my blood, sweat, and tears all over it. And 15 months of COVID allowed that, because we had the extra time. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse. I can't help the world in terms of helping COVID-19 patients, but what could I do to help others in 15 months there when we're sitting there? And, instead of twiddling our thumbs, what could I do to try and help? So I have a number of topics that I know I can certainly help on.
Let's talk about them. Let's talk about the topics. Let's talk about who this book is for.
Yeah, sure. We can go over it briefly. There's, first of all, with it being a memoir, self-help book, there is an introduction in chapter 1, and that's sort of going over my aliases, because I think I've had way too many over the years, and I reveal my real last name and my real full name, which I can do on this show. It's Robert Shatsky, and so I reveal that, but I talk about how the stage names came about, which was used in which city and why, as I went around Canada in different parts of markets and such. And it got changed up. There was different variations of Rob Daniels. There was RJ Daniels. There was Robbie D. There was Rob Kelly. There was Rad Tad Rob. I was a whole bunch of different names, and I break it down a little bit, and talk about what I prefer to be called, and sort of a little bit of a background on that. So that's chapter 1 in a fun little introduction. Chapter 2 is based around chronic pain. So for anybody that has struggled with chronic pain, I try and reach out to them in this chapter and really feel vulnerable. I feel, like I'm being really vulnerable in this chapter, a lot of the chapters, but this one specifically because I'm literally expressing what every single step of my life has felt like since 2016, 20 or so, about pain and what I've gone through, and how I continue to go through it, and how do you manage the pain? What do you and do you believe there's a chance that it could be cured? But there is no known cure for what I have. So I reveal I have peripheral neuropathy, which I have currently, but I've battled a lot of low back pain, and it turned into sciatica, and it turned into peripheral neuropathy. I was also in a car accident in 2016. So essentially what happened was chronic pain developed, uh, and so the sensations are very easy to describe, and I get very vivid with the sensations of what I feel every single day with every single step, which is walking on pins and needles, or imagining being in your bare feet and you have to walk on crushed Cheerios and just do that. And that's experiencing what, like, holy, that's what Rob's going through every single day. But I take a medication, thankfully, which I'm so grateful for. It masks the pain, but it's better than nothing. It reduces those symptoms from, say, a 7 or 8 out of 10 of pain to about a 2 or 3 out of 10, maybe about a 3 out of 10 in terms, and then it keeps coming back every 4 hours or so. And I am a medical CBD user. And I've taken natural supplements. I reflect on having to still go to the doctor in a Toronto General Hospital to figure out whether or not this is reversible or not, which wasn't answered in the book at the time, but it turns out it's not reversible. But never say never. People have beaten the odds in anything. I do take natural supplements. Hello?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Oh, sorry. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so I take
You
some.
were breaking up a little. You were right to be a little nervous about whether you were getting through or not. But yeah, you're back.
Yeah, I heard just some scrambling. I wasn't sure what that was, but yeah, essentially, I was told it's not reversible. So which I figured, and because there is no known cure for peripheral neuropathy, but I try to manage the symptoms by using everything in moderation. Let's just say I do almost everything but surgery. Let's say, so I was almost going the surgery route at this point, but I've decided against it because the surgery seems very, very scary to me, which I would not want an implanted device in my low back, which is sort of like a pager system that would it would help your symptoms by about 60%, but there's no guarantees in surgery. And once you have something in your low back, and I have low back problems too, I don't know. So I'm doing everything but, and trying meditation, trying to live a more holistic life, which goes on to other chapters as well, which is, I guess, a perfect segue for one that's a little later in intermittent fasting. But so in terms of the pain, there is no cure right now. I don't give up. I take I take natural supplements, and the pain is not only physical pain, but there was some emotional pain as well, which I experienced in chapter 3. Anti-Semitism in America. I played on a partial baseball scholarship in the United States at 18 years old. So I talk about how there was brutal anti-Semitic remarks said to me, and being bullied essentially with it for being Jewish for a good 3.5 months at 18 years old, moving however many miles away, kilometers away from your family in the middle of nowhere, Iowa, to go play on a partial baseball scholarship. And I didn't feel accepted, obviously, and I really get vivid as to what happened out there when I was out there and how I dealt with the situation. And perhaps if someone else is in a similar scenario, which we know racism is in the news a lot of late, perhaps some of the story can help with others standing up for their own race or whatever it is that they feel if they're not being respected for their race, they can speak up. And it talks a little bit about not being able to handle it, how I didn't
Yeah, part of the problem is that the long term effects are an issue. We've lost them.
Now, can you see me?
Yeah,
Yes.
can see you. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
The biggest problem with, when you talk about racism, you glossed over uh, a discriminatory act that you have done, and I wonder if you realize the fact that you changed your name.
Hmm.
Uh, Shatsky, you said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice name. My
Yeah.
name's Stanisci, and when I told you I had a chance to go out west, they asked me to change my name. Now that was a long time ago. I'm much older than you are,
Yeah.
and that's something that was normal. D- do you feel that you're feeding racism by changing your name? Is there a part of you that says, I wish I didn't have to do this, or do you realize that you're giving in to being homogenized? Do you feel that at all? Part of your thinking process, part of your anxiety, part of your depression. You don't get to be yourself. Has it had any effect on you while you've been introspective?
Wow. To be completely honest with you, that's a great question. I've never ever really thought of it that way, and it's interesting that you bring my mind to that. To start to think of that, that's a really good question. To be completely honest with you, the name change for radio had nothing to do with my religion whatsoever. The only reason why is, and I think a lot of people do this, is what sounds catchy with top 40 artists, and like Robert Shatsky in between the Backstreet Boys and Bruno Mars. I At the time I didn't think was as catchy as Robbie D or Rob Daniels inside 45 minutes of music. It sounded better, I thought, and when I changed my name, and it was because of the whole coolness. A lot of radio DJs at the time, 20 years ago, had aliases, and let's just say,
Absolutely.
yeah, let's just say I liked it. I thought it was cool to change your name and to sound that you hear of all of them that sound just so crisp in between. I don't know what it is. Something with the vowels have to go together. It's got to slide smoothly. And Robert Shatsky, I think, is a great name, but probably for something like the
Uh,
CBC.
I ask out of love and respect for your culture. I want you to understand that. And I feel we should all be proud of who we are. That's not to suggest, I want to make sure that you understand this, Rob. I'm not saying it because I think you are ashamed of who you are. That's not what I'm saying.
No, no,
But
no.
what I am saying is that sometimes in the business, we do things because they're the norm. But
Yeah,
sometimes, as we're learning, and because we've had so much time because of the pandemic, we're thinking about things that we never thought of before, right? We wonder about how we think. Anyway, this isn't about me. This is about you and your book. Your book has done some things for you. How important is it, if you recommend somebody to do a book? We're really running out of time.
yeah.
What are some of the most important salient things that you've benefited from by writing this book?
Um, what have I? But is
What has
probably
it done for you? What has writing this book done for you? Never mind everybody else. I want to know what this has done for Rob. Rob
uh,
Daniels, Shatsky, whoever he is at the moment.
it's really just allowed me to be me more. I feel like I needed to get all of this out on paper, because sometimes we are held back in top 40 radio. We have 7-second intros, 45 seconds to talk, sometimes at most once or twice an hour. How do I expand on that? How do I really reveal what I'm going through, but can be a teacher with it? And I want my listeners to know that I can be real. The way I put this book best is picturing Robin Williams still being alive today and being able to pull off the mask, not the COVID-19 mask, the real mental health mask, the one that comes off that you put on every day at work, and say, this is me, this is really what I'm struggling with. And you could see it in his eyes that he's sad sometimes, a lot of the time, while he's trying to entertain. And that's what I'm an entertainer, so I'm giving you the real vivid truth that as much as I love being an entertainer, I struggle every day with a lot of stuff that I try and manage, like a lot of people do as well. And I'm being open and honest about it, and I give my personal take on how I deal with it and try and manage certain things. And and just being open about it, just being real and saying, yeah, no, like there is, what bothers me the most is if someone were to say, no, I don't need help. There's no way I need help. I never go get help. But I just entrench myself in it there. I tell you, I just I just say, you know what? Yeah, I do need help. Sometimes I'll go to therapy. Sometimes I don't end up in it. Sometimes I need more of it. I need help. And sometimes I can manage. And when you can't, that's when you need to go speak to someone, and or figure out ways, meditation or um, intermittent fasting that I talk about, that helps for mental health. And so that's what it's really about. And how it helped me take the mask off to reveal to to viewers, to listeners, that exact image, if you could picture it. If Robin Williams, God bless his soul, if he was still here, that he could be able to do that. That's what I was trying to do with myself with this book.
Well, listen, you're preaching to the choir. Someday when we have another half hour or hour, I'll inform you how much we walked the same path. I understand completely, at least the words that I read about you, the depression. I have my issues.
Yeah.
And it's always good. The most important thing about what you said, and I want the viewers and listeners to understand this, you're not alone.
Yeah.
And sometimes just talking to somebody can help you through a tough time. Sometimes reading a book that's about self-help, and when we say self-help, the author sometimes is helping themselves, but they can help others while they're doing that. And that kind work by you is appreciated. I really thank you for having the time with us, Mr. Shatsky. It was my pleasure having you on.
I missed that.